This time we are hitting up Norwich Gaming Market on the hunt for PlayStation 2 Platinum games. Then we are taking the train down to London to hit up no less than 6 CEX stores. But I'm starting to question, is it still worth hunting for PlayStation 2 games in CEX? Again, folks, and welcome back to the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. My challenge for 2024 is to try and find every single PlayStation 2 Platinum game released here in the PAL region. And we are nearing the end of October. We have nearly 10 months of Platinum hunting under our belts and only 2 months remain to find these last elusive games. And it is getting harder and harder to find these games, but the hunt continues. We ain't giving up yet. Today we're hitting up 6 CEX stores and also Norwich Gaming Market. Just before we head off to London, I want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe. As I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And also throughout the week, I'm streaming over on Twitch. Head over to twitch.tv/DannyGamesMan Twitch for even more gaming content. These following CEX stores are from a recent trip to London where me and my brother went down to Wembley Stadium for AEW All In at the end of August this year. And I cannot believe that over the course of a weekend we managed to hit up 6 CEX stores. The first 3 of which have already featured on an episode of The Crazy World of CEX, and the second 3 stores will be featuring on a brand new episode coming next Saturday. And we are starting off strongly, as this CEX store here had the largest selection of PlayStation 2 games of any of the 6 stores we visited over the weekend. And it didn't take us long to find a game which I needed for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. But unfortunately, spoiler alert, this did not have the Platinum disc. It came with a standard version of the game, so unfortunately I did have to leave it behind, which was a real shame, as it's getting very hard to find the last remaining Dragon Ball Z games that I need. Undeterred though, we carried on the good fight on the hunt for PlayStation 2 Platinum games here in our first CEX store. And here's the thing, sometimes, especially when these games are stacked backwards like this, it can be very hard to find those hidden Platinum games. When all the games are facing forward, it's easily done, but if they are stacked with games behind games, you can easily miss Platinum games. And at the end of the day, these are stores I will not be coming back to for a very long while. So if I miss a game, chances are I could miss that game for a very long while. And considering we are coming to the end of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, missing a game at this point in the challenge could be absolutely devastating. But unfortunately, here in our first CEX store, we didn't manage to find any Platinum games we needed for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. But we had 5 more stores to go. On to the next one, and hopefully some more luck. Our next stop on the hunt for PlayStation 2 Platinum games was Edmonton. And even though this was a slightly smaller CEX store, we never judge a CEX store by its size, we judge it by its contents. And even though this was a smaller store, it still had a fairly healthily sized PlayStation 2 section, which is good to see, because honestly, as I travel around the UK, I'm seeing all around the UK, CEX PlayStation 2 sections are sadly getting smaller and smaller. And this game came as a somewhat unwanted surprise, a game I've never seen before, but was also not on my list of PlayStation 2 Platinum games, which I believed, to the best of my knowledge, were released here in the PAL region. Now, I did grab that game because I've never seen it before. I have no idea of anything about that game. It really caught me off guard, but for the sake of £1.50, I wasn't going to leave it behind. And coming to the end of this section here in our second CEX store, it did look like it was going to be the only game we found here, but it was a game I've never seen before, a game to add to the list of Platinum games released here in the PAL version. 2 down, 4 to go. The hunt for Platinum games continues. Our third stop of the day was Enfield, and this was the smallest CEX store we'd visited so far, and unfortunately the smallest PlayStation 2 section so far. Like I said, these sections are getting smaller and smaller everywhere I go around the UK, but this was one of the smallest PlayStation 2 sections I've ever seen. This could be a worrying glimpse into the future of PlayStation 2 collecting in CX around the UK. On to day 2 of our CEX hunt in London, and our first stop was Edgware. Again, a fairly small CEX store, and unfortunately, I'm sad to say, a fairly small PlayStation 2 section. Now, while there was a fairly decent selection of PlayStation 2 Platinum games in this section, once again, unfortunately, there wasn't anything I needed here, and it was becoming increasingly obvious to myself. It's going to be very, very hard to find the last remaining PlayStation 2 Platinum games that I need for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2 in CEX. Unfortunately, it does seem that maybe the days of us finding a lot of Platinum games in CX are sadly becoming a thing of the past. Next up was Islington, and honestly, it was getting harder to keep hunting for Platinum games at this point. We had been to so many CEX stores over the course of these 2 days, and so far I'd only managed to find one Platinum game. But here's the thing, there are so many games for the PlayStation 2 that CEX don't sell, and of course, so many of these Platinum games were never released here in the UK, so some of these are very, very rare to find in CEX. But I'm not giving up. At the end of the day, I still love hunting in CX. Even if I'm not finding any PlayStation 2 Platinum games that I'm looking for, I'm always finding cool games to add to my collection. So fear not, I'm not going to be quitting hunting for everything in CX. It just does seem, unfortunately, that PlayStation 2 games are going to become more and more sparse for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2 in CEX. We have one last stop here. Let's hope we can find something here. This was one of the biggest, healthiest PlayStation 2 sections of the weekend of the 6 CEX stores we visited. But unfortunately, spoiler alert, even here in our last section, one of the biggest sections we had seen of the weekend, I didn't manage to find any Platinum games I needed, which was a real shame. But trust me, in an upcoming episode of the crazy world of CX, I still managed to find some very, very cool things in these 3 brand new CEX stores. But it had been an amazing weekend regardless. We were back on the train, back to the fine city of Norwich. Let's take it back to the games room and talk about these Platinum games. Here we are then, back in the games room after hitting up 6 CEX stores around London, and it is getting harder and harder to keep up the hunt for PlayStation 2 Platinum games in CX. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love hunting in CX, and I'm not going to stop hunting in there for any kind of video games, but it is getting very disheartening looking for PlayStation 2 Platinum games, because out of the 6 stores we visited this time, I've managed to find one game. And also, it's a game which wasn't on my original list of 256 games, which I thought, to the best of my knowledge, made up the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. This game is iToy Play Astro Zoo. It was only 50p. It's a game I've never seen. It is a PAL release because it was released in many different European countries. So this was only £1.50. It didn't come with a camera, but this is where I need your help. This is complete with the manual, but it does not have a Platinum disc. But I do know there's a lot of games which never came with a Platinum disc as part of the release. So if you know of an actual Platinum version of this game, please comment down below. If not, I'm crossing this one, or should I say adding this one to the list. As I said, I'm never going to give up hunting for PlayStation 2 Platinum games in CEX stores. It's just getting a little bit disheartening, but it's moments like this that give me faith. In my local CEX store, I found another Platinum game we needed for the collection. I couldn't believe I managed to travel to 6 CEX stores in London and find one game, and then I managed to find one game right here in my local CEX store in the fine city of Norwich. I may not have had the best luck hunting for PlayStation 2 Platinum games in those 6 stores I hit up in London, but it goes to show you can never give up the hunt. As in my local CX store right here in the fine city of Norwich, I found this game right here, SOCOM Free. It is complete with the manual and the Platinum disc, and it just goes to show you can never give up hunting, as you never know when just around the corner your luck's going to change. You may remember a few episodes ago I declared a war on FIFA. I decided enough was enough. I was going to get the last FIFA games we needed for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2 and complete that subset. But at the end of the last episode, due to human error, we were missing just one game. But that game is missing no more. I jumped on eBay straight away at the end of that episode and decided that was it. The war was over. We were finishing the war on FIFA once and for all. We have the final FIFA game I need here for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, coming all the way from France. This is FIFA 09. With this game, we have every single PlayStation 2 Platinum FIFA game released here in the PAL region. And honestly, I can be happy to complete this incredibly annoying, surprisingly difficult subset for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. The war on FIFA is over, but another war is still raging on. The war on PES. There was an absolutely obscene number of football games released for the PlayStation 2 under the Platinum label here in the PAL region, and so many of these games never got a UK release. And so many of you viewers have been so instrumental in helping me track down these games. And these are another 2 games right here that Sebastian, a viewer of the channel, has so thankfully found for me hunting in the wild. And it is another subsection I really want to complete. This time, the Pro Evolution Soccer subsection. We have 4 games left to find, or should I say had 4 games left to find. So first off, Sebastian has sent PES 2008. To the best of my knowledge, this was never released here in the UK. This is the German release of this game. It is of course complete with the manual in an absolutely fantastic condition. And the second game that Sebastian has sent, another PES game, is PES 2010, which once again is complete in an absolutely fantastic condition. But the war on PES isn't quite done yet. We have one more PES game to cross off the list this time, and this one was a little bit of a gamble. This one is an eBay pickup, and this came from Momax UK, an eBay seller I've used throughout the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, because most of the time they are the cheapest way to buy some of these import games which were not released here in the UK. But it is definitely a gamble. I've received games which have not had the Platinum disc or have had the wrong game altogether. But thankfully this time the gamble has paid off with this game right here, PES 2009. Thankfully this time it came with the Platinum disc and also complete with the manual, so very happy the gamble paid off and we can cross this one off the list. As we saw at the start of this episode, it is getting rarer and rarer for me to find PlayStation 2 Platinum games which I need in CEX. So one of the places I'm really hoping to find some of these last Platinum games we need for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2 is at some of the many amazing gaming markets here in the UK. And even though we are nearing the end of 2024 and thus the end of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, there are still a few gaming markets left on the calendar, and thankfully one of them is right here in the fine city of Norwich. This was super exciting for me to have a video game market here in the fine city of Norwich, in Video Game Retro Market here at the Forum, and I was even more lucky to be able to have VIP access and get in half an hour early. I was able to look around all these stalls and really get an idea of what games were available, but I knew the clock was ticking. I had half an hour to try and clock what games I was looking for, and honestly, on my first pass through, I wasn't really looking for PlayStation 2 Platinum games. That's because I knew a majority of the people here would not be looking for PlayStation 2 Platinum games. This is one of the reasons I started collecting Platinum games for the PlayStation 1, because it's such an unloved subset. So many people pass these games by, but for the PlayStation 1 and especially the PlayStation 2, it is a fantastic way to build the most comprehensive library of must-play games for the console imaginable. It is such an incredibly well curated collection. It includes games of all genres, something for everyone. And honestly, leading up to this year, a lot of the games weren't that expensive. More often than not, the Platinum releases of games are cheaper than the Black Label versions because less people want them. Now, I have done a previous video on this gamer market, so please go and check it out. But The doors are about to open and it's time to hunt for some PlayStation 2 Platinum games, and fingers crossed we can find some here at a Retro Gaming Market. When it came to PlayStation 2, I was spoilt for choice here at the Video Game Retro Market. There was so many PlayStation 2 games, but more importantly, would we be able to find some PlayStation 2 Platinum games? As we saw earlier in this episode, it is getting less and less likely I'm going to find the remaining Platinum games I need in CEX, and I'm hoping and I'm crossing both my fingers and my toes that I can find some here and in some of the last remaining video game markets all around the UK in 2024. Because the clock is ticking and honestly, I'm running out of places to look for these games. Yes, a lot of these games are on eBay, but I prefer to get out in the wild, in the thick of it, and find them. And honestly, if I'm not going to find these games at CEX, chances are I'm going to find them at video game markets such as this one. But this is the thing, when you are hunting through boxes and boxes and boxes of PlayStation 2, it can be difficult. But one of the best things about hunting for Platinum games is those silver and black spines stand out so much, and this stall right here with their fantastic display made it very easy to hunt for them. I was in luck. It didn't take me long to find some PlayStation 2 Platinum games which I thought we needed for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. These were just £1 each, and they go to show you can pick up these Platinum games super duper cheap. So many people think that video game markets are overpriced. Yes, you can pay a premium for a lot of games, but honestly, the bargains are still out there, especially if you're collecting for one of the more unloved collections, such as the PlayStation 2 Platinum set. I carried on throughout this market looking for PlayStation 2 Platinum games, but alas, they were the only two games which I managed to find which we needed for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. But regardless, it had been an absolutely incredible day of hunting. If you have not checked out my previous video from this gaming market, please go and check it out. It goes to show why I love hunting at gaming markets like this one. And fear not, even though we are coming to the end of 2024 and the end of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, I still have a few gaming markets up my sleeve, and I guarantee we will find a few more Platinums that we need for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2 at one of these gaming markets. I had an absolutely amazing time at the Video Game Retro Market here in the fine city of Norwich, and I will link my previous episode from there in the description down below. And good news, there is one more Video Game Retro Market coming up here in the fine city of Norwich before the end of 2024 on the 28th of December. And that very much will be my final chance to hunt for PlayStation 2 Platinum games for this challenge. And unfortunately today we only have 2 Platinum games to add to the collection, and unfortunately the first of which, 24 the game, is a game which I do already have. So my loss is your game. This game will be added to this massive box of games here, which at the end of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2 I will be giving away to one of you lucky viewers. But thankfully we do have one game to cross off the list. This game right here, this is Football 2005. Yes, the war on FIFA is over, the war on PES is continuing, but there's still even more football games to find for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. Which brings us on to our final games for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2 this time. And like I've said throughout this project, I cannot do this without your help. And it never fails to blow me away how many people reach out every week to offer games from their collections or games they've found in the wild which I still need for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, and I'm eternally thankful to everyone who reaches out. And first off, we have a package here from a viewer, and I'm afraid I cannot find your message, but please, when this video goes live, comment down below and I will do a short thanking you again for these 2 games which you went to your local CEX and found for me for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. The first of which is Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup, and it actually amazes me with a franchise as big as Harry Potter how hard these games have been to find. So eternally grateful for this one. It is complete with the manual in an absolutely fantastic condition. And secondly, we have a game which I have never seen before in the wild, the Sonic Mega Collection Plus, once again in fantastic condition, complete with the manual. So thank you again. Please make yourself known in the comments down below and I'll send you a massive shout out, as I'm very happy to cross these two off the list. And it goes to show, if you found these two games in your local CX, maybe there's more out there for me still to find. Which brings us on to our final games, this time on the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. And these are from a viewer and fellow Platinum collector, Matthew, who reached out with some games I have never seen before. And he has some absolutely crazy games in his collection, including the most elusive PlayStation 1 Platinum game, Sheep, Dog and Wolf, which I'm still looking for. It is slowly becoming my white whale, my holy grail, my game I need to complete the Platinum Project for the PlayStation 1. But back to the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, he is also helping out with an incredible list which he has curated of every single PlayStation 2 Platinum game released in the PAL regions. And one of these games blew my mind, because one of the games he has sent, the only way to get the English language version of this game is from South Africa. Now he has the South African version of this game in his collection, but has sent me a slightly different, definitely cheaper version of this game. But first of all, we have a note which reads, Hi Dan, along the game I believe you still need, I'm not going to spoil what it is yet, I've also included my old copy of game I'm not going to talk about again, I had in my collection for a while. I finally managed to upgrade to a better condition copy after finding one in South Africa. I never knew South Africa was included in the PAL region, which could change the entire course of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. But thought you might appreciate having the English version, albeit with a damaged cover. It plays all okay though. The game is the Dutch version, it plays in English though, and I've popped in the UK manual. No map unfortunately, but another harder to find game for the collection, and thank you very much. And the English version is available, but I believe it was a South African exclusive, and is where I got my English copy from alongside the other game in here. He's loving the series, hope these help move you close towards the goal. All the best, Matt. And yes, Matt, your list is helping very much, especially as we come to these final games for the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. And momentarily we're going to jump into these next two games. Enough of the mystery then. The first game in this delivery is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Now this is the Dutch version of this game, and like Matt said, this game was released in South Africa, and that's where he found the English version of this game, as well as the second game in this delivery, which is this game right here, Spider-Man 2. Now this is the UK version of this game. Again, this one was released in South Africa. Absolutely crazy. And Matt, your knowledge of PlayStation 2 Platinum games is invaluable. As we get closer and closer to the end of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, I'm slowly realising that some of these games are either impossible to find or may not exist. And those 256 games, as we've seen throughout the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, are forever changing. With just over 2 months left, you ain't seen nothing yet here on the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. As I've said all along here on the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, this project is not just about collecting games, it is about playing games. And today we are going to replay an absolute classic with this game right here, the Sonic Mega Collection Plus. I think these days it's easy to underestimate the importance of retro game compilations on the PlayStation 2, such as this, the Sonic Mega Collection Plus. This was coming from a time when people weren't really hankering for retro games anywhere near as much as they are these days. Back in those days, you could pick up NES, SNES, Mega Drive, Master System games for super cheap, because honestly, most people weren't collecting. People were looking for brand new games for their PlayStation 2, their GameCube, their Xbox. It was only through collections such as this one that a lot of people got to experience some of the classics. And for me, they don't get much more classic than this. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Still to this day one of my favourite retro games of all time, and it's just an absolute bona fide classic. Like, everyone at some point in their lives needs to check out Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Yes, it's the second game in the series, but for me, still, this is where I feel this franchise absolutely peaked. It was just perfect in my eyes, and for so many people, this may have been their first experience of Sonic the Hedgehog on a Sony console, which blows my mind. But for so many people, the PlayStation 1 was their first ever console. They'd never experienced the Mega Drive, the Master System, maybe even not experienced any Nintendo consoles before in their entire lives. And this was such a great way for the masses to be able to go back and experience, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best games of all time. Yes, there was other Sonic games on the Mega Drive, but they paled in comparison to this. This was a dark age of Sega, but this was still a shining light. There we had it, folks. That was another episode of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, and this episode has been a real roller coaster. We have visited 6 CEX stores in London, as well as one right here in the fine city of Norwich, as well as a gaming market here in the fine city of Norwich. We have picked up games from all over Europe and talked about games as far afield as South Africa. And at the end of the day, we have added 11 games to the list. And trust me, folks, like I said earlier, you ain't seen nothing yet. We are getting close to the end of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2, but the craziest things are yet to come. Sometimes it's about celebrating the little things. We have finally completed the war on FIFA. There we have it then, folks. That was another episode of the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. But fear not, you ain't got long to wait for the next episode. I've already hit up both Nottingham Gaming Market and countless CEX stores in and around Nottingham. And I am sourcing games for this project from all around the world. But now more than ever, I need your help. If you can find or have any of the games you can see scrolling down the side of the screen here, please get in touch. And with your help, we can complete the Platinum Project PlayStation 2. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe. Until next time, let the games begin. See y'all soon.